Good evening, it's Two Wolves. This is 9 January, 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and I'm reporting from northern Utah. And I just came across this story tonight. I urge you to look into this story. I did a story about 3 days ago, Gambling in the Crucible of Death. It had a lot to do with nuclear and toxic waste in Dugway Proving Ground. Now, another story just surfaced. This was a hidden little story. It just sort of popped out at me tonight. Demolition begins at Utah's Chemical Weapons Depot. This is Utah's Chemical Weapons Depot in the same region that I just did a story for you. Let's look at a larger map. Okay. Here's Google Earth. This is the Bonneville Salt Flats. We were just here in the story about 3 days ago. Wendover, Crucible of Death, Salt Lake City. Having a little trouble with my windows, sorry. I want to enlarge that a little. But here's Skull Valley, Great Salt Lake, I-80, Dugway Proving Ground, and this is where the depot is, just south of Tooele. Now, I want to tell you that most of the dead eagles have been found. Some of them were found near Flat Top, as I understand it. Most of the others up here in Davis County. The winds often blow this way. All right, we'll go back and look at the article. Because I cannot help but draw a correlation between the dead eagles in Utah and the beginning of the demolition of Utah's Chemical Weapons Depot. Picture by Al Hartman, Salt Lake Tribune. Work is beginning. That means, of course, we know that it's been going on for some time. At any rate, it has begun. Demolishing of structures at the Tooele Chemical Agent Disposal Facility. Notice the venting. Remember what I told you about the wind blowing southwest, southeast, due north toward Salt Lake and west toward Provo from this area. This is a 2009 photo. From 1945 to the 1970s, munitions and chemicals were stored in open trenches. I believe we're seeing some here. Contaminated metal was stored in barrels in a site on the property. There it is, right out in the open. Okay. The incinerator in the background was used over a decade to dispose of the nation's nerve gas stockpile. Let's read that again. The incinerator in the background was used for over a decade to dispose of the nation's nerve gas stockpile. Remember, most of the symptoms the eagles are exhibiting are neurological in nature. Just putting some pieces together. This is still venting. The incinerator is still venting in 2009. Sorry about the ads. By Nate Carlisle for the Salt Lake Tribune today. Buildings tumble. Agents such as mustard gas and VX were once stored in igloos. For 15 years, chemical weapons were stored and destroyed at the former Deseret Chemical Depot. Today, work began to destroy something else, buildings. Well, you know that demolition has been underway for some time, no doubt. They're just because they're reporting on it now, right? The demolition is expected to take 9 months and will bookend the former facility's role in complying with the International Chemical Weapons Convention. The property last year was transferred to the control of the nearby Tooele, that's how you say it, Tooele Army Depot, and given the new designation as that depot's south area. Amy Blauser, a spokeswoman for South Area, said 2 modular buildings were scheduled for demolition today. One was a building that housed foreign inspectors who ensured U.S. compliance with the convention treaty. The other building was used to support those inspectors. ultimately will knock down everything associated with destroying the chemical weapons, Blauser said. The last mustard gas agent-filled munition was destroyed at the depot in 2010, the Army saying, and the last bulk mustard gas was destroyed in 2011. Chemical weapons destruction formally completed 21 January 2012. But that doesn't mean South Area or Utah is free of chemical weapons. No, indeed, it does not. An unknown number of munitions, some which still hold remnants of deadly chemical agents, remain at the South Area. An unknown number of munitions, some which still hold the remnants of deadly chemical agents, remain at South Area. Thomas Ball, the staff engineer in Utah Division of Solid and Hazardous Waste, who oversees the Army's cleanup of the remaining waste, said the Army will probably spend several more years removing burnt or buried munitions, some of which contain chemical weapons that were not subject to the treaty. He goes on to say they haven't assessed the entire depot, but the Army has assessed the majority of it, and they have a plan in place. Oh, good, they have a plan in place. Whew. And for those areas where they don't have a plan in place, those plans are in development. But the end of chemical destruction, what an odd word. But let's look at that sentence. But the end of chemical destruction has been heralded by the U.S. Army. Let that sink in. Besides mustard gas, the facility destroyed, and mind you, an incinerator, nerve agents, sarin, I suppose that's pronounced actually, tabin, VX, and a variety of blister agents. The chemicals were in everything from ton containers to rockets, mortars, and landmines. Okay, I've just about read enough. There is a little bit more there. Whoops. There is a little bit more there. Along with its incinerator in Utah, the Army is destroying chemical weapons incinerators in Alabama, Arkansas, and Oregon. Total cost for the project demolition is expected to be $1.3 billion, and the contractor for the Utah demolition is Envirocon. Envirocon. It's always in the name, isn't it? By N. Carlisle for SL Trib, Salt Lake Tribune. I just want to reiterate. Recently, Salt Lake citizens experienced about a week of a very bizarre malady in which people were dazed, confused, disoriented, and felt stoned and drunk, and thought something might be in the air. The dead bald eagles mostly have been found west of this. This area was also ravaged by some wildfires this summer. I'll let you draw your own conclusions. Thanks for watching. I wanted this in place. I really hope that we don't see a lot more deadly fruit from what's being done here. For the record, this is Two Wolves Out.